The Lover's Pentacle 5, Loneliness and Guilt, Chapter 14, Ace of Wands. It is not as if we're doing it yet, said Oberon, speaking his thoughts aloud. Put him on ice and let him thirst for you, suggested Natasha. Kain is used to dry spells. Starving him of physical contact is not going to work. And I don't want to make him sad, said Oberon, pouting. Oh my God, you do like him, said Natasha, jumping on her seat. And she laughed heartily before adding, it has been ages since you took someone else's feelings into consideration. Is there something you want to tell me, barked Oberon? I'm just teasing you a little. Little brother, joked Natasha. And she would call Oberon her little brother to remind him of their power dynamics. And this was also her way of making certain that her friend didn't develop romantic feelings for her. And they had grown up together. For her, Oberon was always going to be her little brother. That night, Oberon drove to Kain's house, and he allowed himself to enter within. And he found Kain sleeping on the couch beside his grandmother, who was sewing. And apparently the Jew had stayed there waiting for Oberon to come home. And Oberon gingerly picked up the doorman Kain, and he placed Kain back in the bed before tucking him in. And once his boyfriend was well rested, Oberon went to the kitchen to get a late night snack. I must say, you're remarkably strong, commented Esther, who had seen the smaller youth carrying her big grandson. I work out whenever the time allows, said Oberon, being modest. It is important for young men to stay in shape, said Esther, and once you start moving, it becomes almost impossible to regain one's locomotion. You seem pretty fit yourself, Grandma, joked Oberon, and when Esther didn't smile or say anything, he said, Too soon? Good night, son, said Esther, departing for her bedroom. Son, repeated Oberon. Good. He went to the bedroom, and he was happy to know that Kain was still asleep, and Oberon took his place in the bed, and once he was comfortable, he closed his eyes, and he had good dreams for a change. The following morning he awoke when he felt something stiff pushing up against his back, and he giggled when he realized what it was, and the stiff object completely deflated at the sound of the alarm, and he pouted when he felt the warm body departing the bed, and it was time to wake up to go to work, and during breakfast Kain placed a little box near Oberon. Oberon eyed with suspicion. He already had a house key, and what else could be the box? And maybe some ear studs? From time to time he saw Kain giggling, and Oberon opened the box before immediately closing it. Did you like it? Asked Kain. And what is it? Asked Jack, reaching for the box. Nothing, said Oberon, placing it inside his pocket. He didn't want to cause controversy, and he felt that he was already on thin ice. And yes, Esther and Jack tolerated his presence, but they didn't seem to support Kain's decision to give his heart to a man. And perhaps Oberon was overthinking things, and his father had, after all, thrown him out of the house for sleeping with a man, and his mother and sister had just stood there doing nothing. And he found suspicious Esther and Jack being super blasé about his presence, and he couldn't shake the feeling that both were constantly watching and judging him. And this was in fact true. Esther didn't believe that Oberon had really committed to her grandson, and meanwhile Jack fancied that Oberon was going to leave as soon as he got bored mating with his son, and considering Kain's track record, this was going to happen sooner or later. Oberon went to work, and with Jeremy gone, he found him to walk the dogs, and they were easy enough, and Jeremy had trained him well, and he followed the routine to the letter, and while sitting in the shaded area by the beach, he noticed a familiar face approaching. And this was his sister Veronica, and he hadn't spoken to her in over half a year. And he did see her from time to time, but from a distance, and whenever she attempted dialogue, he would run away from her presence. On this day, one day Veronica had asked, But if you like women, why do you also sleep with men? I sleep with men because I like sleeping with men, said Oberon. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it. It's as simple as that. But why? And do you like to take it where the light don't shine? Asked Veronica. No, said Oberon, starting to become offended. And do you like the taste of it? Asked Veronica. It is not my favorite meal, and I prefer chocolate over that aqua flavor every day of the week, said Oberon, as his face slowly contorted into a grimace. And maybe if you explain to me why you like sleeping with men, I can help that make sense of your condition so you can finally come home, blurted out Veronica thoughtlessly. My condition, he Oberon, becoming hysterical. I don't have a condition, I'm not sick. You and everyone else are the ones who have a condition called homophobia. And from that point on, Oberon started avoiding his sister like she had the plague. Today he wasn't angry when he looked into his sister's black eyes. And Veronica was a petite like her brother, and she had raven hair and an elegant hourglass shape. And since both belonged to an athletic family, they had to maintain their form. And while Oberon had suffered through gymnastics, Veronica had been groomed to play tennis. And after her brother left, she suddenly had her father's undivided attention. And over the years, she grew to understand why this wasn't a good thing. Oberon grew tense seeing his sister approach, and it was then when he felt in his pocket the box with the ring. And he wore the ring in the first finger that fitted. And Veronica didn't see Oberon opening the box, and she simply saw that her brother had a ring in his ring finger. "Did you get married?" asked Veronica. "Yes," lied Oberon. "Are you happy?" asked Veronica. "I was until you showed up," said Oberon, folding his arms, and they put a shifted position to rest her head on Oberon's lap. "Can I see the ring?" asked Veronica, coming closer. Oberon removed the ring before handing it to her sister, and she commented, "Real gold. And it is inscribed, Kain, huh? I suppose in the end you ended up married to a man. And was the ceremony in a church?" "We haven't officially tied the knot. He proposed and I accepted," lied Oberon, "and we still need to figure out a housing situation. And his house is bigger, but he lives with his grandma and father, and they don't particularly like me for the obvious reason. And my apartment gives me mine. And why am I telling you all this?" "Can I meet him?" asked Veronica, returning the ring to her brother. Oberon worried again, and he said with a defeated tone in his voice, "You can do whatever you want. It is a free country." "Do I have your permission to meet him?" said Veronica, rephrasing her question. She didn't want her brother to think that she was there to intrude, and she still felt guilty for ruining her brother's last relationship. And she had accidentally blurted out that her brother used to sleep with men, and this had caused Oberon to lose the first serious girlfriend he ever had. Oberon left the sun, and he took his dogs before returning to Eugenia's mansion. It had been mentally exhausting to speak with his sister. And when he returned, he recognized a familiar motorcycle parked outside their house, and he knew that Jeremy was there to beg for his job back. When he opened the door, he saw that it was Sidanta with Tybalt. Tybalt was on his leash to keep him from escaping, and the cat looked at Oberon with pleading eyes before saying, "Help me." "Help me." "What's the matter, buddy?" asked Oberon, kneeling down to be at eye level with the cat. And he pet the cat lovingly, and he noticed that there was slight redness around his belly. And he moved the harness from the cat. And the moment that the harness was removed, Tybalt bolted. And Sidanta saw the cat fleeing, and he then yelled, "And why the hell did you do that? That giant rodent is escaping." "The harness was too tight, and you were hurting the cat," protested Oberon. "If I leave it loose, the stupid cat escapes," complained Sidanta. "If he escapes from you, he must have his reason," said Oberon, folding his arms, and he added, "You're lucky that Jeremy isn't here to see you bullying his cat." "Oh, so he isn't here," said Sidanta sadly. "And you two get into a stupid fight again," asked Dorothy, coming into the room. "Yes, and when you told me that Jeremy was sleeping with your father, I lost it, and I said things to Jeremy that I shouldn't have, so he started packing. And since I couldn't convince him to stay, I grabbed a hold of Tybalt, and I thought he wouldn't leave the house without his stupid pet. But he left, and I haven't seen him since then," said Sidanta. "Why didn't you chase after him?" asked Oberon. "I can't face him when he gets really angry, and he's dangerous to himself and others when he explodes. And it's best to give him some space to allow him to decompress," said Sidanta, fumbling with his words. "He hasn't stabbed you, has he?" asked Dorothy, remembering that Jeremy always carried a dagger. "He even had the dagger when they traveled abroad, and he pondered how Jeremy had managed to smuggle the darn weapon through airport security." The hours passed and still no Jeremy, and since Oberon worried about Sidanta's rough handling of Tybalt, he decided to take the cat home. And Kain squealed with delight when Oberon came in with the cat. "You got me Tybalt, and how do you convince Jeremy to give you his cat?" said Kain, hugging the Tybalt. Gotta love the cat. Jeremy got in a fight with Sidanta, and he ran off, and his brother's still looking for him, so we are cat sitters until Jeremy returns, explained Oberon. "Oh, boo, and here I thought we were going to keep Tybalt forever," said Kain, kissing the little round belly of the cat. "Oh, poor Tybalt has a nausea, and let Mama kisses make it all better." Oberon laughed heartily, seeing Kain fussing about Tybalt's bruise, and as the night progressed, he started to become jealous of Tybalt. The cat knew just how to act in order to monopolize Kain's attention, and that night, instead of cuddling with Oberon, Kain had cuddled with Tybalt. And more than a week passed after Jeremy's disappearance, and while Siddhanta searched the streets, Kain and Oberon visited the hospital. And Kain figured that Jeremy must have gotten run over or something due to the seizures he sometimes suffered. And much to Dorothy's surprise, her father Michael mobilized his resources to track down Jeremy. And come Sunday, those participating in the search reconvened in Eugenia's home movie theater. The party sat there and they waited for Michael's spy guy, Dave Parker. And Parker was a former agent Romeo who now worked in the private sector. This is all we know, said Parker, and last Thursday at 8, Dorothy called Siddhanta to inform him that Jeremy was having an affair with her father. And Siddhanta talked with Dorothy for over 47 minutes. And as soon as the call ended, Siddhanta got into a verbal dispute that lasted 10 to 20 minutes, and Jeremy fled the house at exactly 9:14. And we had the surveillance of the front neighbor to collaborate the time, and a few blocks away, a different camera saw Jeremy passing by at 9:37, and after turning a corner, he vanished without a trace. What do you mean he vanished without a trace? Repeated Michael, scratching his head. It is exactly as it sounds, said Parker, rubbing his fat chin. And if he jumped the fence, a different camera would have seen him. And if he crossed the street, a different camera would have shown him. And if a car picked him up, two different cameras would have shown the arrival of such a car. And I even went to check to see if he was hiding on top of a tree, but he wasn't there. He vanished. Maybe he had the cameras, mused Kain, and such a thing has been done before. Or maybe they tampered with the analog cameras or putting on a different tape, said a worried Siddhanta. I had the tapes right here, said Parker, and they haven't been tampered with. And I had men search the nearby houses, and he was not there, said Gem. And he has also not been using his credit cards or bank accounts, and nobody has seen anyone that matches his description. And it is not as if he has a common face that is easily overlooked. The dude looks identical to Nefertiti, said Michael, referring to Jeremy's face. Is that why you found him so irresistible? Barked Eunice, choking a handkerchief with impotent fury. I've never slept with Jeremy, said Michael. He's never slept with Jeremy. Technically, he wasn't lying. And I assume Jeremy never admitted to sleeping with me, did he? He meant sleeping in the literal sense. They did everything but sleep, whatever. No, said Siddhanta, and I was so mean to him. Whatever possessed me to call Jeremy a cheap prostitute. Is the shoe fit? Said Dorothy dryly. Your comments are not helping, barked Eunice, punching her armchair. And whose comments are not helping? Asked a familiar voice. And Dorothy's comments, barked Eunice, not turning around, and every time she opened her mouth, it started to complain or to tattle. Hey, if you don't want me to complain, don't give me a reason to, whined Dorothy. And your sister doesn't need this stress. She's going to have a baby, barked Michael. I'm sorry, Daddy, said Dorothy, lowering her head. And Tiba turned his head and he meowed, Jeremy. I'm sorry, buddy, and you will have to be a little more patient, said Kain, comforting the cat. No, he doesn't. I'm already here, said Jeremy, coming over to fetch his cat. Jeremy, all screaming in unison. He back. Jeremy, come